Good morning and welcome to the second of a series of webinars where UK companies share their experience of choosing the right location in India. Today's city is Ahmedabad and my name is Aina Gupta, Research and Communications Executive at UK India Business Council. I will be moderating today's session. Doing business in India often involves greater interaction with the state governments, and all of India's 29 states have their own government, regulations, codes and taxes. Rent and other costs, availability of skilled labor, government and economic incentives can also vary greatly from city to city even within the same state. Thus, before starting a business in India, choosing the right location is an important first step. In this webinar, we will discuss the advantages of the city of Ahmedabad, located in the Indian state of Gujarat. Ahmedabad is one of the first 20 smart cities to be developed under India's flagship Smart Cities program. Before we begin, I would like to familiarize you with the toolbox on the right-hand side of your webinar. Just to let you know, everyone will be on mute during the course of the webinar, but if you do have a question, please type it into the little bracket on your toolbox in the "Please type your question here" section to send this to me, and I will take it up during our question and answer session at the end. I am delighted to welcome Ravi Khurani, Business Development Director, QX Limited, our speaker for today's webinar. Ravi has been working in the outsourcing and consulting industry for over 15 years and has handled the transition of large projects from the UK and US to India. At QX, he has been instrumental in growing the outsourced accountancy offerings. His responsibilities include business development across all sectors with a focus on cross-border business setup solutions and finance and accounting outsourcing. Prior to joining QX, he worked with both startups and large BPO companies in the UK and US market. I would now like to welcome Ravi for his insights on Ahmedabad, an important base of commerce, industry and trade in India.
Thank you, Aina, for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm going to talk about Ahmedabad and Gujarat in general, and in terms of how are things looking in terms of doing business in India and Ahmedabad particularly. So I thought I'll just start with the last World Bank Group ranking that came out in 2015, and Ahmedabad was ranked as number 5 in terms of ease of doing business in India. And there were several parameters that were in the background. So that's the starting slide I thought I could share with you. So that's in terms of the agenda for today's webinar. I'll be looking at overview of the Gujarat as a state, including Ahmedabad, some brief about the infrastructure, the physical, social, and the demographic environment within Ahmedabad and Gujarat. What are some of the factors that are attracting FDI investment into Ahmedabad particularly? Recent FDI from various countries that have come into Ahmedabad. Some of the industries that are attracting FDI, the foreign direct investment into Ahmedabad, and the sectors which are very favorable for business within Ahmedabad and Gujarat. Some key facts about the city and how we kind of differentiate from others. What is the kind of infrastructure we have to support businesses, and what are some of the kind of approvals required for doing business, which are pretty much in general with India and Ahmedabad. So, moving on, overview of Gujarat, where I kind of include Ahmedabad as well. So Ahmedabad is about, just very quick on the geographic side of things, it's about 8,000 square kilometers with a population of about 7 million people, compared to Gujarat, which is about, the state has 60 million and about 196,000 square kilometers. In terms of literacy rates, Ahmedabad is way up there. It's about 89.6%. So that's on the higher side if you look at the overall Indian scenario. It's a pretty dry state. I mean, the rainfall is less, and in terms of weather, it can get pretty hot moving from February onwards to March, April and May. So that was a very, very quick on the geographic side of things. Some of the key facts of Ahmedabad. I mean, primary research, and I've been living in Ahmedabad for over 15 years, and I am from the state. And I think there's this specific entrepreneurial DNA in the region, as we call it. I mean, if you happen to meet a Gujarati around the world or within Gujarat, they would want to look at business, and there's this tendency to actually move towards doing business. So you meet a lot of business-friendly people in the region. It's the commercial capital and major industrial center of Gujarat. It's been classified as a mega city, and as Ayana mentioned, it's been included in the first list of smart cities published recently. So that's on the horizon. There are 12 main industrial estates, there are 12 special economic zones and 10 industrial parks, which are in and around Ahmedabad district, which supports various sectors and industries, which we'll talk about in detail. Gujarat, I mean, if you look at it, it's number one state in terms of doing businesses in India, and it's got a score about 71%, just above Andhra Pradesh, and then the states there. There are a lot of subcategories within the survey as well, wherein you have Gujarat complying with environment procedures, labor regulations, carrying out inspections, enforcing contracts. So overall, it's a very, very business-friendly state, and one of the most developed and industrial state within India. Just a quick few numbers on the GSDP and NSDP numbers of Gujarat, and as you can see, they've been growing at a 12.11% CAGR and 12.14% CAGR. So it's a growing state, and it's the right time to actually come and look into investments into the state. Quick brief about the infrastructure of Ahmedabad. I think Gujarat is one of the first state to actually enact a legal framework for public-private partnership in the infrastructure sector, and which is major thrust area of growth. I mean, if you look at the recent budget changes also, the announcement that were made in the road and rail infrastructure and power sector, that there is a lot of thrust by the government to actually develop the infrastructure, and Gujarat's kind of taking the lead with just called Gujarat Infrastructure Development Board as a dedicated body dealing with the infrastructure side of things. There's very good physical infrastructure. In terms of social infrastructure, I think Gujarat and Ahmedabad is one of the few dry states that you have in India in terms of, so there's a lot of safety, which kind of brings in the safety environment to people working there or moving around in the nights or days. Education, I mean, we've got some of the best institutes in Ahmedabad, like the IIM Ahmedabad, the National Institute of Design. There are quite a few oil universities, law universities, and of course you have the regular commerce and science universities. So as a whole, in terms of education, getting the right kind of people, getting the right kind of staff is not an issue. I mean, we ourselves employ close to 700 people in Ahmedabad, and we've never faced a recruitment challenge. Accessibility wise, I mean, Ahmedabad is very well placed in terms of it's about an hour's flight to Delhi, an hour's flight to Mumbai. We're pretty close to all the major ports in India. The rail infrastructure is pretty good, and there are about 15 to 20 daily flights within India that fly, and then there are quite a few international flights also flying to the Middle East, Singapore, and then onwards connectivity to Australia or upwards to the UK. Power and energy infrastructure, I think, is one of the best. I mean, there's a private company which kind of runs the power utility in Ahmedabad, and I mean, I've been living there, as I said, for a lot of years, and there has been minimal power outage in the city, which kind of helps with the industry if you are a power incentive industry. Water-wise, no issues there. In terms of industrial infrastructure, I mean, there are very few strikes and those kind of problems that you would generally face otherwise. So very well developed infrastructure there. Telecom and IT infrastructure is suitable to any IT companies coming in. There are quite a few IT companies and IT enabled services companies as well. Tourism has been growing over the last 4 to 5 years now, and a lot of new tourists come in every year. Some of the recent developments and various projects. You must have heard of the dedicated freight corridor with the DMC, Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. I mean, the major chunk of it passes through Ahmedabad, I think, through Gujarat rather. Almost 62% of the area covered is, covers about 18 districts of Gujarat out of the 26 districts in this corridor. And I think Dholera, which is very close to Ahmedabad, is coming up as one of the smarter cities pretty soon. And I mean, a lot of new development is happening along this DMC corridor. DFC actually passes through 6 states in India, of which Gujarat accounts for 38% of the development that would happen. So as you can see, there are huge opportunities to actually participate in this corridor, both in terms of infrastructure and the ancillary services that go in with it. Continuing on the recent developments, very close to Ahmedabad, about 20 kilometers near the city and about 10 kilometers from the Ahmedabad airport, there's a new city which is coming up, which is called Gujarat International Finance Tech City, or GIFT City as we call it. I think it's one of its kind of city that's coming up. There are two, it's got a special economic zone which has got permissions which are very unique to any economic zone that you could find in India. What they're trying to do is actually compete with Dubai and Singapore in terms of the tax rates and it's mainly for the financial institutions, financial companies, banks coming into India. So if you establish yourselves within this SEZ, you are actually treated as a foreign entity. So which gives you a lot of other benefits in terms of the taxation that you would have. And I think this will be one of the 5 major financial centers in the world once it's completed. We've recently got an office space there. The project is on track. They are ahead of their schedule. What they were planning to complete in 2016, they are ahead of their schedule. And I think by 2024, the entire project will be implemented. That's just a small architectural picture on your screen there, what the city would look like once it comes up. Ahmedabad's recently, over the last 3 years or so, we've got the bus rapid transport system, BRTS. So it's pretty common in the Western world where you see dedicated bus lines. But in India, it's a pretty developing thing, and it's one of the successful project within India. I think they've tried it in Pune and Delhi, but didn't really work to the expectations. And it's got about 380 kilometers. Covering area from east to west and north to south of Ahmedabad. Vibrant Gujarat, I don't know if you heard about this, which happens every 2 years. And I think about 21,000 MOUs were signed in the last year, of which about 4,000 were in the large industrial sector. Recently, there's been an agreement signed with Japan to implement the first bullet train in India between connecting Ahmedabad and Mumbai. And Iran is in talks with 4.5 billion undersea gas pipeline to Gujarat. So as you can see, there's a lot of thrust on infrastructure. The new airports coming up, trains coming up. So it's a pretty vibrant and developing city. And of course, Gujarat is ranked top 10 in terms of the India according to the NSTP per capita. Factors attracting FDI in Ahmedabad. A lot of single window clearances policies that the government has established. Policies are really business friendly, and being in the city, operating there for about 13 years, we've seen the change. What hurdles we faced, let's say about 10 years back compared to today, how easy it is to actually get the permissions and the approvals done. Skilled manpower, as I said, is abundantly available. There's uninterrupted electricity supply. Extensive network of railways. It's very well connected across India. Safe city, as I said. There's alcohol prohibition, so it kind of gives the flip side to it. It makes it much safer. Road network is much better. You've got the expressway up to Baroda, and I think they're extending the expressway up to Mumbai now. Highly industrialized. A lot of industries. Automotive industries been really growing in the last 3 years or so, with Tata Nano, Ford, Honda, Suzuki, everyone putting up plants there. And in terms of the actual FDI, as you can see, in the last 9 months, it's close to about 1,500 million US dollars and projected to 1,900 US dollars in the next fiscal. So it's attracting a lot of foreign investment, and we'll talk about what particular sectors they're coming in. In terms of the FDI equity flows in Ahmedabad, the community FDI equity flow from all countries in India from December 2000 to December 2015 are 278 billion USD, out of which Ahmedabad share is about 12.5 billion USD, which kind of ranks fifth in India. Of course, a lot of FDI is coming through Mauritius, which is the route a lot of investors prefer: USA, Singapore, Cyprus, and the UK. Some of the industries that are attracting FDI or the foreign direct investment into India: agro and food processing, chemicals and petrochemicals. I mean, you've got large refineries, a lot of chemical companies. Reliance is established there, SR is there. So these are big names, but there are a lot of other companies there as well. Textiles and apparels. I mean, Ahmedabad has been known as the Manchester of East, and textile is one of the sectors which is again growing, and we'll get into specifics of that as well. Engineering and automobile, gems and jewelry, oil and gas, pharmaceutical, biotechnology, ITES, minerals, sports, and tourism. In terms of the maximum FDI that a particular sector has attracted, you're looking at telecommunications, it's got about 17%, power has got about 13%, construction is about 8%, and services is about 8%. So these are some of the sectors that if you are operating in one of those, you can definitely look at Ahmedabad or Gujarat as your destination. Some key facts. As I said, chemical, petrochemicals, and pharmaceuticals is the kind of Ahmedabad or Gujarat is hub for this industries. India's petro capital, it's known as well. I mean, it amounts for about 30% of petrochemicals, 50% of chemicals, and about 42% of India pharma turnover, and about 22% of the export of pharmaceutical is actually done from Ahmedabad or Gujarat. It tops agro growth table at 9.6%. Textiles and apparels another big area. Gujarat currently accounts for about 6% of total industrial production comes from this textile industry. The largest producer, 35%, and export about 60% of cotton is Gujarat. The third largest denim producer in the world, and it offers about 12% of total India's exports to the world in terms of textiles and apparels. Gems and jewelry, I mean, it's the second largest producer of gold jewelry with 85% contribution to national jewelry production. State contributes 80% to diamond exports. Again, these are two big areas. I mean, diamond industry is very well established in a city called Surat, which is about 4 to 5 hours drive from Ahmedabad, and gems and jewelry is spread across the state. Gujarat has got some of the leading ports, and Ahmedabad is very well connected to this port. So if you are exporting or importing your products, location-wise, it's really placed in the right place. So movement between cargo and ports within the states, within India, it makes it much easier. So there are about 13 major industry groups that together account for 82% of the total factories, 95% of total fixed capital investment, and 90% of the value of output. So as you can see, I mean, these are some of the sectors that Ahmedabad or Gujarat is attractive for. Infrastructure to support businesses. Various industrial parks have been developed for projects, high-tech parks. You have the biotechnology park, pharmaceutical park, information technology park, and clinical testing areas. You've got the industrial projects such as ready-made garment and hosieries, diamond cutting and polishing, gems and jewelry, handlooms and handicraft, leather-based products, and mineral industries. What are some of the key approvals required for doing businesses? Of course, as anywhere in India, you need to look at the FDI or FIPB approval from RBI, that's the Reserve Bank of India. You need to register your business organization. You need to have your appropriate approvals from the Labor Department, approvals from the Commercial Tax Department, other approval based on the nature of businesses. But as I said, I mean, there's a lot of ease of getting these approvals over the last few years. A lot of things is done now online, which kind of brings in the transparency that what's actually happening. There are timelines that are met, and there are deadlines that even the government follows. So a lot of these things are happening now. we as a company can help you with company formation and setup, legal and regulatory support, infrastructure support within Gujarat or across India, JVs and acquisition, cross-border tax advice, ongoing business services in terms of IT infrastructure, HR, accounting, or any other admin work that you want as a company to do once in the initial stages of your business. As I said, we are a team of 700 people working mainly out of Ahmedabad. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Many thanks for that excellent overview, Ravi. I will now ask some questions we received. The first question is, India's planned Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail corridor project is expected to start in 2018. The bullet train is expected to cover the distance between Mumbai and Ahmedabad in about 2 hours, which currently takes 7 to 12 hours. How much this project is expected to impact the economy of Ahmedabad?
I mean, there have been quite a few estimations that have come out, but it looks like at least anywhere upward of 30 to 40% is the initial impact. And I think there'll be a lot of travel that will happen, so that's going to ease up, because Mumbai is the commercial capital of India, so that will ease up as well.
Thank you, Ravi. The next question is, Gujarat is well known for ease of doing business, and you also kind of referred to that. Can you give some of your personal experiences where you have really felt easier to do business in Ahmedabad compared to other cities?
I think, as I said, we established ourselves about 13 years back into Ahmedabad, and it was very different at that point in time, given the state of Indian economy and how close it was at that point in time. Now when if I need any specific approval for one of any of our clients, we actually can. It's much easier. It's online. We can actually meet the relevant person very easily. So, and the speed at which the clearances are done is something which I have not seen in many cities across India.
Thank you, Ravi. If there is one thing you could change about Ahmedabad, what would it be?
That's a trick question, I guess. Yes, this infrastructure is pretty good right now, but I think we kind of lagged behind in getting the metro trains done within the city. So that's now kind of started, which some of the other cities have kind of leapfrogged in terms of Bangalore or Gurgaon or Kolkata. They've kind of implemented they've have their metro trains up and running. So I think Ahmedabad, that needs to speed up, and once that happens, there'll be more ease in terms of commuting within Ahmedabad.
Thank you, Ravi. You have really very well outlined the advantages of Ahmedabad, and surely Ahmedabad is the place to be, with the GIFT coming up and the industrial corridor, the rail corridor, and of course the ease of doing business factor is there. Thank you, Ravi, for that excellent overview and interesting insights. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope this webinar was valuable to you. If you have any feedback or comments about today's session or a session that you'd want to see us do in the future, please feel free to get in touch. I would also like to invite you to join us for the concluding webinar of the Battle of the Cities webinar series on 15th March, where we discuss the city of Pune. You'll find the registration link on our website. You may also wish to look for the Battle of the Cities hashtag on Twitter to join the discussions and let us know in which Indian city you would like to set up your business. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.